The spirits of Twin Peaks. Let's talk about it. Today we're going to talk about the famous 90s show Twin Peaks and how it actually parallels with the real-life account of serial killer Jaime Osuna. So the show Twin Peaks is basically a murder mystery, where a detective is trying to figure out a murder mystery involving Laura Palmer. And in the show there is a very important character. So the character's name is Bob, and he is a fictional character on Twin Peaks, and he's played by Frank Silva. He is an interdimensional entity who feeds on pain and sorrow. He's an inhabiting spirit. He possesses humans and then commits acts of the R word and murder in order to feast upon his victims of all the pain and sorrow that he causes. So yeah, in the show Twin Peaks, there's an interdimensional space that I talk about often throughout my videos, known as the Red Room. And in this Red Room is where possessing spirits reside, looking for their next victim, so they can possess humans in the town of Twin Peaks and make them commit chaotic acts such as the R word and murder, and then feed off the pain and sorrow that they cause, because pain and sorrow is their food source. And in the show, the character Bob, he's a possessing spirit believed to originate from the mythical Black Lodge. He spent most of his time on Earth possessing humans, committing horrific acts to harvest pain and sorrow. The basic plot of the show, long story short, is it's about possessing spirits who live in another dimension, and they possess human beings to commit horrific acts such as murder and the R word. And then through these acts, they cause humans more pain and sorrow. They feed off this, and then they find their next host. And I believe this actually parallels with the story of Jaime Osuna that I'm now going to talk about. I mentioned this before about the show Twin Peaks, but the patterns of the Red Room, the zigzag black and white patterns, is often seen by people who partake in psychedelics and blast off into another dimension, where they see these common patterns, the black and white zigzags, the checkerboard patterns. And in these other interdimensional spaces, they often encounter beings, and the common being that they encounter is the trickster spirits known as the jesters. But anyway, let's talk about the real-life account of Jaime Osuna and why his story parallels the possessing spirits of Twin Peaks. So anyway, this is Jaime Osuna, the grisly crimes of the man with 1,000 faces. Bakersfield, California, there are dozens of slayings in Kern County each year, but the murder of Yvette Pena at Bakersfield Motel particular notoriety. Her killing in 2011 stood out not only for its gruesomeness, but for the heavily tattooed remorseful man who eventually admitted carrying it out. Jaime Osuna, 34, has a Joker smile tattooed on his face and a pentagram on his forehead. There's hardly a spot on his face untouched by ink. In interviews with former KGET reporter Olivia Lavois, Osuna described the thrill he got from killing Pena, whose torture slaying he admitted to and received a sentence of life without parole.
Torture and all that, it's more of a trying to get a rush. It's a rush, it's an addiction, it's a drug. I would rather do that than do drugs.
Now Osuna is once again a murder suspect, fulfilling the promise he made 2 years ago. A warning, he wouldn't stop killing.
I don't have no sympathy. I'm sadistic. I really don't care. I'll do it and I'll do it again over and over and over.
He says, I recognize myself as one who is not afraid to indulge himself without the consequences and let society mold him into. As laws change and as society changes, people change with it, Osuna told Lavois before trial began. He said, I am self-made and I am proud of it. For Osuna, murder is a rush, and it's alleged after Pena's death that he indulged in it again. KGET has previously chronicled Osuna's crimes in an extensive news coverage, The Man with 1,000 Faces. This is the name that Osuna referred to himself as, the Man with 1,000 Faces. 1. Osuna has steadily added to his tattoos, becoming nearly unrecognizable from when first seen in court a decade ago. Each new piece of ink changed his look, sometimes subtly, sometimes drastically. The difference in his look now from how he appeared a decade ago is extraordinary. 2. Osuna bestowed himself with the name, writing it in blood on the walls of his cell. On November 13, 2011, police were called to report of a body found in a room at El Morocco Motel in Bakersfield. Pena, a mother of 6 who had fallen on hard times and was living in the motel, had suffered numerous grisly injuries. Coroner's official ruled Pena died of blunt force injuries, sharp force injuries, and asphyxia. Prosecutor Nick Lackey didn't go into detail on what had been done to Pena, but said that she suffered truly horrific injuries. Police arrested Osuna 5 days later after surrounding an apartment he was staying in West Bakersfield. He pleaded not guilty to first-degree murder, among other horrific offenses, and his case slowly made its way through the court system. In 2017, Osuna agreed to an interview with Lavois. The reporter was stunned when, instead of more denials, Osuna admitted to killing Pena and said he was going to plead guilty. He stressed that he wasn't doing it to save Pena's family, the pain of a lengthy trial where disturbing photos would be displayed. He just preferred to go to prison rather than stay in county jail. On May 14, 2017, Osuna was sentenced to life without parole during a hearing in which he mocked Mena's family, smirking and rolling his eyes as they described to the court the torment Osuna brought to their lives. He gave a thumbs up sign as Judge John S. Somers pronounced the sentence. Those expecting even an iota of remorse were left disappointed. Osuna appeared amused, as if he enjoyed the attention. Deputies led him away. In the following days, he was transported out of Kern County and into the custody of the State Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. It wouldn't be long before he again received media attention, this time nationally. The decapitation at Corcoran State Prison. Osuna was transported to a state prison in Kings County. He was eventually given a cellmate, Luis Romero, 44, who had spent more than 2 decades in prison for fatally shooting a woman in Los Angeles. This March 13, 2018 photo released by California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation shows Luis Romero. On the morning of March 9, 2019, guards checked their cell and made a shocking discovery. Romero had been beheaded, an eye stabbed, and other body parts removed. Osuna wore a necklace made up of parts of his cellmate's body. The word "ha ha ha" was written in blood all over the walls. Also written on the wall was "the man with 1,000 faces." If Osuna wanted attention, he got it. His mugshots went nationwide in articles detailing the ghastly crime and Osuna's criminal history. Dr. Brandy Matthews said at the hearing the reports indicated Osuna was experiencing increased paranoia. He refused to take his medication, no longer left his cell, and believed people were setting him up, and said of the reports, there was documentation to support that with the decrease of medication there was an increase in his psychosis. Osuna had been diagnosed with unspecified schizophrenia spectrum, antisocial personality disorder, borderline personality disorder, and post-traumatic stress disorder. So yeah, that was the story of Jaime Osuna. Now, why do I believe that his story actually parallels the show Twin Peaks, a show about possessing spirits who possess people to commit wicked, horrific acts like murder? Osuna growing up actually had a horrific childhood. He got abused a lot by his father, he was beaten, and growing up he used a lot of drugs like meth to cope with this. In fact, Osuna's wife said he got really psychotic when he started doing a lot of drugs, so for him drugs were a coping mechanism to cope with his childhood abuse. Now, I've mentioned on this channel that mind-altering substances like meth, heroin, psychedelics, and many other substances are gateways for wicked spirits to come into your life. And I talked about many different gateways on this channel, and I call them gateway sins, and these are sins that the Bible talks about not to do. The Bible talks about not doing mind-expanding drugs. It refers to this as pharmakia because it opens you up to spirits. The Bible also talks about not giving into fear. It's the most repeated command in the Bible, and for very good reason. Fear sustains these wicked spirits, and as the book of Ephesians says, that we are not dealing with flesh and blood, but spiritual wickedness in high places. So I believe Osuna is actually possessed by real possessing wicked spirits. And one of my main reasons for that is, number one, the way he looks and the specific tattoos that he got. As you can see on Osuna's face, he looks like a comic book villain, a Joker. He got that jester smile tattooed and those jester eye slits, and then he has a pentagram on his forehead. Now, this type of look is very interesting because, as I mentioned before, many people who have partaken in psychedelics, the experiences they have are very similar. And I've had subscribers tell me their experiences, and they're all similar, if not exactly the same. People take these mind-altering drugs, they get exposed to another world, which the Bible calls spiritual wickedness in high places. But in this other dimension, people see zigzag patterns, they see black and white checkerboard patterns, but the common entity that they encounter is the jester. Pale face, slits on the eyes, a big jester Joker smile. And I believe that these possessing spirits that people see on psychedelics possessed Jaime Osuna because of him partaking in the gateway sins, such as the trauma that he went through and all the drugs that he took. Even his wife said that he became extremely psychotic. And as the report shows, they diagnosed him with schizophrenia. Another reason I believe that he is possessed by spirits is the name that he gave himself, the man with 1,000 faces. When he murdered his cellmate, he did very horrific things to his body, cutting up certain body parts, and in blood he wrote, "Ha ha 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 ha" on the wall. Also on the wall was written, "The man with 1,000 faces." Now, when I read that, it reminded me of the account that Jesus Christ had with wicked spirits in the Bible, the account of Legion, where Jesus casts out thousands of wicked spirits out of a man. And during this encounter of the man that was possessed by many wicked spirits, they were using the man as a vessel, as a mouthpiece. And Jesus is telling the wicked spirits to come out of him, and then he tells them, "What is your name?" And the wicked spirits reply with, "My name is Legion, for we are many." It's a very interesting account in the Bible. Jesus had many accounts with wicked spirits in the Bible and casting them out. And it's interesting how it correlates to Jaime Osuna. Along with Ha 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 on the wall, he wrote The Man with 1,000 Faces. And it reminded me of the story of Legion, because Legion was about a man who had thousands of spirits in him. Why would Jaime Osuna write on the wall, The Man with 1,000 Faces? Because he also has many spirits possessing his body, using him as a vessel to commit these horrific acts and to feed off the pain and sorrow. That these wicked spirits, these energy parasites, feed off pain and sorrow, just like the possessing spirits from the show Twin Peaks. But yeah, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you so much for the support. Thank you for watching these videos. I love hearing your comments, your experiences. If you would like to support this channel, I do have a Patreon. But yeah, guys, fact is stranger than fiction. And the reason is because fiction has to have some thread of rationality running through it in order to make it believable, while reality can be totally irrational. But it's reality. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we are out. Till next time.